Laura, I'm going to go to Matt for War Homes.
Copeland. I'm Head of Policy and Public Affairs at National Energy with the National Fuel Poverty Charity. And my job is to ensure that energy policy and regulation works well for the poorest households. So I'm going to talk to you about what's happening at a national level to decarbonise our homes. And then later on, I'll give you some thoughts about what we think needs to happen at the local level, but that'll be in the chat later, I think. So homes and workplaces account for about 78% of CO2 emissions in London. And with 80% of the existing building stock still likely to be in place by 2050, it's important to improve the energy performance of these buildings in order to cut costs and carbon. We currently rate the energy efficiency of our homes using an energy scale of A to G. So when you've bought or rented a home, you'll often see a scale from A to G, and that's how efficient your home is. Lots of work's being done up and down the country to improve the energy efficiency of homes, but there's still a long way to go. And something to remember is that most homes in our country do not reach the standard of EPC C. So what do we need to do to decarbonise our homes? It's really important to think about what's happening at the national level first. And the aim in England is for all properties to reach EPC band C by 2035. Now that's 60% of all homes target. It's worth bearing in mind that this doesn't get us all the way to net zero by itself, but it is consistent with what experts say we need to get there by 2050, which is the national target. But the important thing for us is how exactly do we do that and who do we prioritise? So we believe that fuel poor households should be prioritised, and this is something that's part of UK law. So fuel poverty has a legal definition, which is someone who is living on a lower income in a home that cannot be kept warm at a reasonable cost. Essentially, it's a household that can't afford to keep warm. Something to note is that fuel poverty isn't just an energy and housing issue, it's a health one too. Being cold impacts your health and makes certain illnesses much worse and can cause other new illnesses, but also fuel poverty can cause being too warm at home as well. And as Jim was saying earlier, that could be a problem in the future in London. There is only one legally binding target to increase EPC levels in England, and that's the fuel poverty target. And that's for all fuel poor homes to reach that EPC C level by 2030. So that's 5 years before the rest of the population. Given the urgency of that target, that's where I'm going to focus my talk. The last thing is the scale of the issue. So there's more than 3 million fuel poor households nationally, and more than 10 million households overall that need to be improved to EPC C. In London, there's 500,000 households that are fuel poor. That's more than 16%, the highest of any English region. In Lambeth, there's about 20,000 fuel poor households, 16% of the building stock. And all of those homes need legally to be upgraded by 2030. So then the big question is, what do you do about it? The government has a national plan and different mechanisms for addressing energy efficiency of fuel poor homes. There's plans for owner occupiers. There are grants available to upgrade your homes if you are below a certain income threshold. There's also to help mortgage lenders give priority to people potentially who to help them upgrade their homes. For private renters, there's minimum standards for landlords, so they need to spend money to upgrade the homes that they rent out to get them to a reasonable standard. And for social renters, there's upcoming funding and standards as well. So what do we think as a charity needs to be done about this? I'm just going to talk very quickly about 4 key things that we think need to happen to make this fair. So firstly, we think heat demand needs to be reduced before anything else. So that's improving the energy efficiency of our buildings. If we do that, if this energy becomes cheaper for everyone, more affordable, warmer homes, better health, it's a win-win for everyone. Secondly, in reducing that heat demand, we should address the homes of those living in the worst fuel poverty first. So those with the lowest incomes should be first to receive grants and help to reduce the heat demand of their homes. Thirdly, we should ensure that all fuel poor homes have access to help. It shouldn't be something where some fuel poor homes get the help. It should be trying to help all fuel poor homes, so they all have the right to this. And fourthly, the poorest homes shouldn't have to spend a penny to reach net zero. This should be something that where the costs are distributed fairly, and that means that the poorest households should receive financial help to do this, in our opinion. I look forward to discussing the sort of Lambeth centric things later on.
Brilliant, thank you, Matt. And now we're getting towards the end. We have some guys from the council going to join us, but before that we have